It's been a few days since Assassin's Creed Shadows Day, where preview events, digital pre-orders finally opened, the story trailer and various other updates all went live. Amidst all the stuff happening that day, the one main thing for me was the story trailer for the game was finally released, and I'm sure most of us have watched it by now, and if you have not, well, you're in luck. I found it to be a well-crafted and straightforward trailer that provides a solid understanding of the key events that we can expect in the game's story. Some parts still look good and some parts did feel a bit janky, but that's not the point. What I want to do in this video is essentially go over the story trailer and analyze it from my perspective. Now what's interesting is that in the preview event I played, I did finish the entire prologue, and some of the story trailer has moments from the prologue. So I do have a pretty good understanding of what actually happens in some moments that are not shown in the story trailer that you might not know about. So yeah, as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on everything Assassin's Creed. And now that I've said all that, let's get right into it. The story trailer kicks off with a younger Naoe, so this means this is before she ever allies with Yasuke, and she's running away from something clearly disturbing, clutching a box in her hands. Then she gets hit by a bullet, causing her to drop the box, and you can see she's bleeding from the wound. Now, what is this box? Well, nobody knows. But what I managed to gather from my time playing the prologue was that this box was entrusted to her by her father, Fujibayashi Nagato, in which she must protect it with her life. And what is also interesting to note is that this box must not be opened, which shows just how much significance such an object has. I would only assume that this box contains something that can drastically change the course of a war. So my first thought is without a doubt a piece of Eden, which makes sense considering the context of the franchise lore. The next shot shows us two masked individuals. Now, if you have been paying attention to the marketing for the game, but more specifically the exploration article, they showed off the objective board, in which it showed us a bunch of masked men known as the Onryo, which I would assume are the main targets for the game. I don't think they are the Templars, and I'll explain why later in the video. The two masked individuals shown from the story trailer are these two people. Also, if you've been watching many preview event videos from different creators, you'd be familiar with who this masked man is. So clearly these people are of importance in terms of the story. We also get a cinematic shot of Fujibayashi Nagato looking back at Naoe, in which Naoe screams out Chichiue, which in Japanese refers to father in a more respectful way. So clearly something is going on here with Naoe's father, Naoe and the masked men, but I can't say too much without getting into trouble for spoiling the prologue. So moving on from that, the next scene shows Naoe reflecting peacefully until she's hit with flashbacks from that day, more specifically the Iga invasion in 1581 by Oda Nobunaga and his forces, with Yasuke playing a major role. And when I say major, that is probably an understatement, as you'll see later in the trailer. One detail worth noting is that while Naoe is reflecting, she doesn't have the scar that she got during the invasion, so this reflection seems to be a flashback to a calmer moment. I really love the transition here from peacefulness to the pagoda engulfed in flames, and then her waking up to it being a nightmare. It's a pretty cool effect that they did with the burning. The next few scenes features Naoe narrating, saying,
"There is evil at work in our homeland. Greedy lords who bring war."
Now this is clearly referencing the corruption and malicious intent of individuals who hold power over Japan during that era. I mean, we can even see two of them here, which is part of the main story that we played during the preview event, but I won't spoil who they are and what their intentions are, because that relates to spoiling the entire main story. And then we finally see the actual beginning of the Iga invasion led by Oda Nobunaga as Naoe and her father watch from a distance. We do get to see Oda Nobunaga properly in this trailer, and the residents of Iga fighting back. Now one thing I do want to point out is the outfits of the soldiers are so detailed, and I know it's a story trailer, but it did kind of surprise me. Now what also did surprise me is Naoe opening a chest or a compartment of some sort, and we finally get a look at the hidden blade. Now the thing that has kind of confused me a bit, and maybe I've overlooked something here, but my question is, when does this scene ever happen? I mean, think about it. She's got a scar on her face when she's opening the chest or compartment, so obviously this scene was after or during the Iga invasion. But the very next scene in the story trailer shows her father giving her the hidden blade during the Iga invasion, and these are both the same hidden blades. I've looked over every detail of each scene, so it feels like something is not adding up. Maybe she gave this hidden blade from the compartment or chest to her father, and then later he gave it to her. But hey, again, this story trailer was presented quite well. They reveal a lot, but they also keep a lot of things hidden from us, which I can appreciate, hence why I'm so confused. We then see Naoe infiltrating a castle to assassinate somebody of high importance. Who that is, we don't know. Perhaps it's one of the Onryo members. And then we finally get Oda Nobunaga and Yasuke's actual involvement within this whole narrative. First, there's Yasuke arriving in Japan fresh off the boat, and he is alongside Alessandro Valegnano, an Italian missionary and priest who helped aid in bringing Christianity Christianity to Japan, and he was also said to be Yasuke's slave owner. And the other man is Louis Froid, whose name I just completely obliterated. And he is a Portuguese missionary and a friend of Oda Nobunaga. Now at this point, Yasuke is not known as Yasuke, but rather Diogo. So we are going to also get to see Nobunaga officially change his name too in the game. Now one thing I do appreciate about what they've done with Yasuke is that they've not shoehorned him into the game where he arrives on a ship and the game just skips to him being a samurai, or just a very half-baked story. It does seem like it from the story trailer that they fully fleshed him out to the point where he arrives as a slave, he's training, he has major setbacks and comebacks, and even a samurai in the trailer mentions at one point,
"The black soldier is not one of us. Send him back to wherever he belongs."
So clearly we will experience the major ups and downs of Yasuke's journey to becoming a samurai in the game, and doing whatever Nobunaga tells him. Also, I have a prediction. This man right here, I'm going to guess that this man is Akechi Mitsuhide, who in real history was one of Oda Nobunaga's trusted generals, who rebelled against him for reasons unknown, to the point where Nobunaga committed seppuku, which if you don't know what that is, it's a form of Japanese suicide. A very brutal method. So I can assume Nobunaga will not be the main villain of the game, so just do bear that in mind. But going back to Yasuke in the game, eventually he becomes so accustomed to Japanese traditions that he has second thoughts about everything, which is probably the reason he allied with Naoe later in the game. I mean, in this scene, we see a man who is known as Momochi Sendeyu, and he was said to be the leader of the Momochi clan of shinobi, and was one of the most renowned shinobi of that time, alongside Hattori Hanzo. Here he challenges Nobunaga or somebody, maybe Yasuke, to a duel, following the tradition of an honorable and respectful fight. However, Nobunaga refuses, and instead orders his soldiers to shoot him outright, a completely dishonorable move. You can see Yasuke's reaction beforehand. He is clearly confused, and likely starting to have second thoughts about everything he's been going along with under Nobunaga's leadership. And then we get to the scene where everyone's been waiting for, Yasuke and Naoe meeting for the first time, but it is far from a friendly encounter, as they're both trying to kill each other. At one point, Naoe even screams that Yasuke slaughtered innocents, which clearly hits a nerve.
You slaughtered innocents!
You can tell Yasuke is conflicted and still grasping with second thoughts about his actions. I believe the fight comes to an abrupt end when Naoe tries to use the hidden blade on Yasuke. His reaction says it all. He's shocked and confused, even voicing his surprise.
The blade. It is you.
It is obvious that he recognizes the weapon, sparking a revelation moment for him. Perhaps Oda Nobunaga had warned him to watch out for a shinobi wielding a hidden blade, or something along those lines. Maybe Yasuke encountered many hidden blades beforehand, so he knows what they are. Or maybe that Momochi Sendeyu figure who they've been hunting reveals it. Who knows? Now I can only imagine after that scene where they fight, they do come together to ally. Oh, and I do think Naoe beat the living shit out of Yasuke, given that he's on his knees looking defeated, whilst Naoe is in a position of control. We get a good look at Naoe using the hidden blade to open what appears to be a tomb, or in the context of feudal Japan, a coffin. Having played the prologue, I know what's inside this tomb, but I won't spoil it here, so let's move on from that. After that, we're treated to a series of shots, from intense war scenes to a mysterious assassin who unfortunately seems to meet his end in a very Mario Auditore-esque fashion. This assassin is also wielding a hidden blade, so it is pretty clear that they are somebody significant within the Brotherhood. Also, what's interesting to note is that the attackers are not Japanese, as their attire suggests European, so maybe Portuguese. Ubisoft, just make this man's death impactful. That is all we asked for. We also get a mysterious shot of a man who is clearly not Japanese but looks pretty much European too. His identity is still unknown, but based on the context of the game and the time period, he does appear to be Portuguese. That would make the most sense, as during this period, the Portuguese were in Japan, with figures like Alessandro Valignano attempting to spread Christianity throughout the region. I can easily see the Portuguese in this game serving as the Templars. So when I mentioned the Onryo earlier, I don't think they're the Templars at all. They seem to me more like a group of Japanese figures you'd be tasked with assassinating, similar to the cult of Cosmos from Assassin's Creed Odyssey, while the real Templars are likely the Portuguese. We also get this shot of some of our shinobi recruits walking with Naoe. The one on the left is Yaya, who I described in my preview video as the fat one, but he can definitely pack a punch, my god. This one on the right is Yagoro, a stealthy shinobi who thrives in hiding in bushes. My one request is please make these shinobi recruits interesting. Give them some backstory, some story missions or whatnot, just not generic NPCs, because it's hard to feel connected to the characters like these when we know so little about them. The story trailer then gives us a very brief snippet of some characters who will be very important. In fact, all of these characters are on the front front of the Assassin's Creed Shadows cover that was released quite recently. Well, almost all of them. I don't know who this woman is, but I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, but the shaven eyebrows and painted forehead reflects traditional Japanese customs, where doing this emphasizes the beauty ideals of that era. We also get a look at an old Japanese woman who is on the cover, so she is clearly important. Maybe she's Naoe's grandmother, maybe she's a very close family friend, which, thinking of it now, that would literally be Yuriko from Ghost of Tsushima. Oh boy. We also see Russell from Up. Nah, I'm just kidding. This is Junjiro, who we do know a little about, such as him being a very important character to the point where he's described as the future of Japan, and is even front and center of the cover art. And the last character we see for a split second could be this guy from the cover art, who's wearing a mask. I've seen some people say that this could be Hattori Hanzo, but who knows? That's the beauty of a story trailer, it's mysterious. And then the story trailer ends with a pretty cool Yasuke and Naoe transition where she absolutely destroys the cameraman, and justice is forged in the shadows appears, which, you know, reminds me a lot of Assassin's Creed Unity cinematic trailer ending with the whole Unite font. And that is pretty much the story trailer. I do like it, and I also do like a lot of the scenes that were used. They did do a really good job at showing us enough to make us interested in the story between Yasuke, Naoe, Nobunaga, the Portuguese, the Onryo, and a lot more. But they did also keep a lot, and I mean a lot, under wraps. So that's for us to find out for ourselves in the game. Hopefully the story is good, because without a good story, in my opinion, this game will be mediocre. No amount of innovative stealth mechanics and beautiful landscapes can hide a poorly written story. A good story can transform a game entirely. Just please don't mess that part up. Now, what are your thoughts on the story trailer? Let me know down below. Anyway, with all of that said, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.